Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
We're reading from the Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 1, Chapter 5, and we're on verse 25. 1-5-25. Narada is continuing to speak to Vyasadeva about his previous life. Uchashtalepan anamodito tujai sakrutsma punje tadapasta kilvasha evam pravartasya vishuddha chetasas tadharma evatma ruchik prajayate. Once only, by their permission, I took the remnants of their food, and by so doing all my sins were at once eradicated. Thus being engaged, I became purified in heart, and at that time the very nature of the transcendentalist became attractive to me. Srila Prabhupada's purport. Pure devotion is as much infectious in a good sense as infectious diseases. A pure devotee is cleared from all kinds of sins. The personality of Godhead is the purest entity, and unless one is equally pure from the infection of material qualities, one cannot become a pure devotee of the Lord. The Bhaktivedantas, as above mentioned, were pure devotees, and the boy became infected with their qualities of purity by their association and by eating once the remnants of the foodstuff taken by them. Such remnants may be taken even without permission of the pure devotees. There are sometimes pseudo-devotees, and one should be very much cautious about them. There are many things which hinder one from entering devotional service, but by the association of pure devotees all these obstacles are removed. The neophyte devotee becomes practically enriched with the transcendental qualities of the pure devotee, which means attraction for the personality of Godhead's name, fame, qualities, pastimes, etc. Infection of the qualities of the pure devotee means to imbibe the taste of pure devotion always in the transcendental activities of the personality of Godhead. This transcendental taste at once makes all material things distasteful. Therefore, a pure devotee is not at all attracted by material activities. After the elimination of all sins or obstacles on the path of devotional service, one can become attracted. One can have steadiness, one can have perfect taste, one can have transcendental emotions, and at last one can be situated on the plane of loving service of the Lord. All these stages develop by the association of pure devotees, and that is the purport of this stanza. Jai. Om Jnana Timirantasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Vanchakalpatarupyascha Kripa Sindhubhyo Cha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. We're hearing more about Narada Muni's purification, his journey upward from. He was on a trajectory to just being a very normal young man, raised by a single mother, didn't know his father, raised in a household where the occupation was just humble service, menial service, housekeeping, didn't know much of anything. And then he had the association of devotees, and his trajectory changed completely. And he was engaged in their service, and he was respectful. We heard that in the previous verse. He was kind of sense controlled. He didn't have a lot of distractions. He didn't have a Game Boy. He didn't have YouTube. He didn't have, an obsession with sports and games and distraction. The point was he was able to give himself a little bit to these devotees and do some service, and that really helped to change his heart. And we hear in this verse about how he took the remnants of their food. Yeah. So this is actually a great science. There's a way in which it's described when we eat food, which we all have to do to live, we're actually associating with the consciousness of the person who's prepared that food. So if you eat food that's prepared by people who are angry and they're working in a restaurant, they want to just go home, you're eating that consciousness. You're taking that in. You're going to take on some qualities. If you eat food prepared by somebody who's unclean internally, what to speak of externally, you will take on some qualities. If you eat food that's been prepared in a mode of goodness or higher, then you'll take on those qualities. And if you eat food that's prepared with devotion,
and eaten by somebody who sees it as the mercy of the Lord, you will receive transcendental benefit. Krishna talks about this in the Bhagavad Gita, chapter 9, text 26. Patram pushpam palam toyam yome bhakti aprayachiti tadaham bhakti paritam ashnami praitatmanaha. If you offer me even a leaf of flower or fruit or water, just anything in the mode of goodness, with devotion, I accept that. I accept the devotion. Krishna is always interested in this. And in fact, the very same verse comes up again in the Srimad Bhagavatam. And there's so many pastimes, so much scripture, so many activities of devotees to back this up, that actually it's a very simple, heartfelt thing. If you just offer the divine your food, even if you don't completely understand that divine, he accepts it. And the food is still there. You haven't lost anything. And it's just solidifying this relationship of actually everything I'm getting, every breath I'm receiving is a gift. It's prasad. Prasad literally means mercy. It means mercy. It doesn't just mean time to eat. It means mercy. We're acknowledging that this is the Lord's mercy. And in Lord Chaitanya's pastimes, and many times he glorified prasadam, the power of prasadam. One time, Lord Chaitanya was sitting down to prasad with his devotees, and he stopped and he said, just see, all these ingredients we've eaten before, we know what they are, but there's something so ineffable. There's something, Krishna's lips have actually touched this. There's something that really is moving me about this offering. And Srila Prabhupada would glorify prasad. He was very careful to always have prasad distributed at events. You can see, if you look in pictures and videos of Srila Prabhupada distributing prasad personally, like he would give cookies to people after classes. He was in ecstasy, actually. The fourth verse of the Gurvashtakam talks about how the spiritual master is always offering things to Krishna to eat and then liberally distributing that to everybody, because they have so much faith and confidence in the power of that. And prasadam, if you talk to devotees who have even a little bit of experience in bhakti, every single one of them has an experience with prasad. It's a very tangible way of experiencing the Lord's mercy, because we have to eat. And if you're saying that I'm gonna do this thing, I'm going to offer whatever I eat to Krishna, I'm going to offer whatever is offerable in the mode of goodness, and just take that. That is a huge austerity, especially in this age, to do. Krishna really recognizes it, and you get so much benefit from it that 3 times a day, more if you snack, you get an injection of Krishna consciousness. So Narada Muni was just a 5-year-old boy, and he took the remnants of the food of these devotees. We don't have any information about what their practice was or what kind of ritual there was, but we know they're devotees. When he gives them to a devotee, a pure devotee, one who has no material connection to this world, they see it as Krishna's mercy. They treat it as Krishna's mercy. It's automatically like they're already seeing it. This is coming from Krishna. Thank you so much. And as a matter of formality, they'll offer it back. So they had done that. And Narada Muni is taking the remnants of the food that's been eaten by somebody who's offered it to Krishna. It's even more potent. It's called Maha Prasadam. Maha Prasadam. It's the remnants of Krishna's mercy and in the remnants of the devotee's mercy. He took whatever was left on their plate, and he received those qualities. This is actually part of the science of cooking. So their consciousness was very high, and he also took their remnants, so he's directly receiving their consciousness that way. And he indicates here that tad dharma evatma ruchif prajayate, that my heart became cleansed and I became interested in the life of a devotee. Before that, it was more theoretical, but there's a way in which there are these junction points in our practice where we start to become interested. We start to actually feel some aspect of the devotional experience that, oh, this is good, I like this, I want more of this. We start to feel an attraction. We're moving towards this. That was happening to Narada Muni. He had a level up when he took these remnants, because he took on the qualities of the devotees, and their interest is devotion. They have taste. They have what's called ruchi. And you get taste by being around people who have taste. This is true in everything. If you want to have a taste for sports, you hang around Olympic athletes who have nothing else they want to do but wake up early in the morning and train and talk about their sport. And then once every 4 years, they go to the Olympics and do what they're doing now. They compete, and that's like their entire life. That's how you get ruchi. You just be around that. Practically, you don't have to do anything else. Just be around them. Do what they do. Listen to them. And you can eat their food too. Eat like they eat. So Narada Muni got ruchi for Krishna. He got some taste for devotion. He got a taste for devotion. When he got a taste for devotion, he lost his taste for other things. Because we always have taste. We're made of that. We have to have some attraction for something. Whether it's in the mode of goodness, philanthropic activity, poetry, appreciating nature, symmetry, peace, introspection. For the mode of passion, intense activity, gathering, making, doing, creating, accumulating, sensory intake, or the mode of ignorance, sleep, even like inertia is a kind of taste. It's a taste for just doing nothing, just kind of like vegging out. It's a kind of ruchi. So above all these is ruchi for Krishna, this taste for him, taste for hearing and chanting him, especially. And Jiva Goswami talks about this. There's a very simple metric for your Krishna consciousness. KK equals KC. There's your mathematical formula. Your Krishna consciousness, KC, equals your Krishna kata, your level of interest in hearing and chanting about Krishna. Your taste for the chanting of Krishna's names. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. And your taste for hearing Srimad Bhagavatam, hearing the philosophy, hearing about Krishna's form, hearing about his pastimes, what he did, his devotees. Your level of interest in that indicates your level of Krishna consciousness. It's a very simple thing. And if you don't have that taste, then there's two things you could do. One is you can engage in those practices anyway in the mode of practice, and two is you can be around devotees who have taste. And you can do what they do, you can appreciate them, you can render service, and service to a devotee includes serving them prasadam, and you can take their remnants. So, this is the lifestyle. We try to put ourselves in the sangha and that association, and we put ourselves in front of the sound vibration, and we also honor the power of prasad, that which descends in the form of edible mercy. And I have so many experiences with prasadam, from temples, remnants from devotees. And I remember one time at Govardhan Hill, during the month of Kartik, there was one very advanced devotee. His name is Jayadvaita Swami. He's been giving talks in Philadelphia recently, so some of you may have seen or heard him. Wonderful devotee, very serious, very, very sober, renunciate, but also very soft-hearted. And during Govardhan Puja, at Govardhan Hill, Govardhan Puja always the tradition is to offer a lot of sweets and a whole bunch of wonderful, elaborate prasad to Govardhan Hill, because there's a wonderful pastime there where Krishna actually manifests a form as Govardhan. He eats all the remnants, all the food that's offered to him by the Vrindavan residents. But in Govardhan Hill, it's like that, but more. There's a lot of everything. In fact, one year I went and there was two different Govardhan pujas, one on the day of and one a couple of days later, when a whole contingent of Russian devotees came, and we offered like 83 different offerings to Govardhan. We counted, and me and one of my brahmachari godbrothers, we had a competition to see how many different preparations we could eat, and I got to 40 something, he got to 50 something, and we just like tapped out. But so there's a huge feast happening, and Jayadvaita Swami, he eats very simply. He eats like quinoa and buckwheat and a little bit of lemon juice. Like, I'm talking really simply, day to day. But he had so much faith in Krishna Prasad. When it came down for Govardhan Puja, we were all offering, distributing prasad. I was the distribution team, and I was distributing prasad to the Prabhupada's disciples, and they're all sitting together. And I saw him, and he never took his eyes off his plate the whole time. The whole time he was looking at it, he was very carefully, very deliberately eating. He had a good amount of everything. He started at the same time as everybody, and he finished after everybody. I don't know how he finished it. I don't know where it went. I don't know how somebody who eats like this much, buckwheat a day can have that much prasad with such intensity. And Prabhupada was the same way. Srila Prabhupada would not take meetings during prasad. He would not write during prasad. He would not have heavy business or discussions during prasad. He could have been translating a whole other canto, but he knew prasad is his lifeline. He had so much faith in it, so much confidence that this is Krishna. He was experiencing it. If you watch videos of him, he was so deeply meditating on prasad, on Krishna, while he was honoring that. Bhaktivinoda Thakur wrote several songs about the power of prasadam. They're in his books, and we sing one often before we take prasad. Sharira Vidaja Jodendriyataika. He's singing, this body is like a collection of ignorance, because it's got all these senses, and all they're interested in doing is taking things in, And out of all the senses, the most voracious is the tongue, because it's so interested in eating all kinds of different weird things. And it drags you all up and down the universe because of the karma you get from doing that. But Krishna is so kind, Bhaktivinoda Thakur sings, that just to purify this, he gives us his own remnants. So eat, everybody. Honor this Shaitanamrita, this transcendental nectarian food. Honor that. And remember Radha Krishna, and in love call out the names of Chaitanya Nitai. And he sings like this, and devotees therefore often sing this bhajan before they take prasad to remind ourselves, like, wow, I could be doing anything with this tongue, and I'm honoring Krishna's prasad. I'm so grateful. So this prasad, even if you don't know what you're doing, taking prasad is powerful. If you do it intentionally, it's even more powerful. And it changed Narada Muni's trajectory so much so that he's taking a whole verse to talk about it. It's something that happened to me, Vyasadeva. This is what happened. I took the remnants, and I got some ruchi. I got some taste. So we heard about the science of consciousness and how you associate with the consciousness of the person you're eating, that they're cooking, or their remnants. If you think about when things are cooked for you with love, when your family cooks it with love, you actually can feel that. You can't have that experience in a restaurant unless your mom is in the back. So that's also there, just in all of our interactions with food. We heard about the power of prasadam, Bhaktivinoda Thakur's songs about prasad, Lord Chaitanya's faith in prasad, Srila Prabhupada. I shared a pastime with Jayadvaita Swami. And now we'll take any comments, questions, and reflections on prasadam, Krishna's mercy, food, science of consciousness, eating. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. I saw this little cartoon, and I showed it to you the other day. I don't remember where we saw it, but it was like these devotees that were like, I just want to chant, and I want to hear Krishna Katha, and like, yeah, I just want to do that all day. And they're walking, and then they're like, oh, and we're hungry, and here's a place, it's a vegetarian restaurant. Like, this will do, let's go have lunch there. And they go in, and they eat the food, and then after they're eating, they're like, I don't want to listen to Krishna Katha anymore. I want to go take a nap, or I want to play a game, or something like that. And so it was a cartoon example of how, like, even if you're going to a vegetarian restaurant, a restaurant that honors the way that you eat, not knowing the consciousness of the person cooking it, actually, if you really think about it, if you think about, when you go to restaurants, it's okay, but like knowing, just noticing, like, oh, it does shift me from sattva to rajas or to tamas, like, depending on where the person's at. Feeling.
That's where you're at, So the empirical kind of like modern perspective is your consciousness doesn't matter at all. It's all external. It's all the ingredients.
Right.
And that's very short-sighted. It's not the case. So we're not saying, you should feel bad for going to a restaurant necessarily. It's like, you see it as an opportunity. It means that I actually can level up so much in my bhakti if I want to, if I'm able to, by offering my food to Krishna, by taking that which has been offered, by being as much as possible the mode of goodness. And yeah, just like when we first start coming to Krishna consciousness, we're like, well, actually I eat things in all three modes. And maybe I'll eat less of the tamasic, rajasic stuff and more goodness. And we kind of like, on the gross level, really refine how we eat. Mm-hmm. Then we start offering, refine it more. And so there is room to just always be very careful about what we take in. Just like what we take in our ears affects the heart, what we take in eating, it affects the heart too. So it's a great opportunity when you have these chances to come to sanghas with devotees, to offer something with some devotion and take the remnants, whatever's been offered by them, is a huge opportunity to level up, and you can feel it. It's really powerful.
Right.
Yeah.
Like, it's not to be taken for granted. It's something we do every day, eat, but like eating prasadam and receiving the remnants of pure devotees, like, it actually advances your practice without you having to do anything other than be conscious of the fact that it's prasad and eat it. Right? It's pretty incredible. And that's also why distribution of prasad is a huge part of our movement and practice. And like tomorrow we're like, let's go to the park and just be out in front of people that don't know anything about bhakti, and they can just walk by and hear the sound vibration. Or if we like make cookies or something and we just give them to people, they don't have to know anything about it, and it can affect their consciousness.
I have one devotee friend calls it Srila Prabhupada's secret weapon.
Yeah.
It's very sly. you don't have to preach. You don't have to tell them they're not their body. You don't have to like pull the cigarette out of their hand. You just eat this, and enjoy it. And we're doing service materially, but we're also primarily doing service spiritually. And even without understanding that, they get so much benefit. So it's absolutely part of Prabhupada's program. It's the pure devotees are always interested in distributing prasad, and Srila Prabhupada was very, very clear that devotees should have prasad distribution as much as possible. He loved seeing devotee-run cafes and devotee, dessert places and restaurants, and every devotee is actually like a little mini restaurant, because they're always offering things to Krishna and then sharing it with friends or each other, and that's just part of the culture. We've been called the kitchen religion because we understand the heart of the house is the kitchen. It's like, in fact, in the temple, the kitchen where you offer you cook for Krishna is considered an extension of the altar. In Pancharatric regulations, it's considered to be non-different than being on the altar. It's such a sacrosanct place. It's Radharani's abode. It's where we express our devotion, and cooking is like a really, really, really wonderful opportunity. It's a huge privilege to cook for devotees. It's a huge privilege to cook for Krishna, and it's our secret weapon.
Right.
Distribute little cookies and what have you.
That's why Srinivas wants a cafe.
Yeah.
Why he's cooking.
I wish he were
for
here to
our
tell us
wedding.
more about prasad. He can go on and on and on.
He would. He sure would.
He would.
Yeah.
Cooking and like making prasadam has always spoken to me. But what you said about your friend and like being in that prayerful mode, like receiving it, was really beautiful.
Yeah.
Because I don't always think about that part,
Yeah.
I love like being in service and like cooking, but
It's
Yeah, how you take
the
it in.
consciousness shift is that actually honoring prasad is a service.
mhm.
I was at my spiritual master's home one time, and it was a couple of days before his Vyasa Puja. We were honoring his birthday with the disciples, and it was me and another god brother, and we came to speak with him about some things. And before we got a chance to do that, he finished up his lunch, and my Guru Ma, his wife, had cooked, and then he sat us down and he said, "Take prasad," and he started serving us. And I was like, we were just mortified, like, oh my God, our spiritual master's serving us prasad. And he's like, we're like, no, Gurudev, like, please don't serve us. And he's like, honoring prasad is also a service. Your service right now is to honor prasad. So, because it was lunchtime, so he fed us, and our service was to honor prasadam, and it is a service. And of course, the shift is because for so many lifetimes it's been like not a service. It's like me, eat. And we can treat Krishna's prasad like that too, and benefit is there. But the shift is to intentionally remember, like, oh, what I'm doing here is I'm actually receiving Krishna's mercy. I'm connecting with him as much as I'm connecting the holy name. He's here in this prasad, this mercy, and that's why Prabhupada gave us these songs. Bhaktivinoda Thakur to sing before prasad, and he talked so much about it, and there's a whole culture there. So yeah, like when I was serving in the kitchen and on the altar feeding Krishna, we all knew that it begins with like getting the ingredients in a mode of service, and keeping a clean kitchen in a mode of service, and cooking, and then offering it to Krishna. And actually, the whole thing isn't done. If you do all that in the best way and you don't serve to the devotees, you're not complete at all. You actually have to distribute the remnants. It's part of the whole relationship with prasadam. It's like you give it to Krishna, and then you take it from Krishna's hands after he's given it away, and you distribute it to the devotees. And they honor prasadam, and then it's done. There's a whole circle. So all of that is in devotional consciousness, and that means we have an invitation to change how we write our grocery list, and go to the grocery store and pick it, and wash it, and cut it, and cook it, and clean it, and offer it, and distribute it, and honor it, and digest it. So at any point in the whole process, you can choose to be like, okay, I'm going to try to level up my relationship intentionally here, whereas it was just unconscious for so many lifetimes. I'm going to try to like remember it now. So and as soon as you do that, you'll find more. Krishna will show you other places where you can start to cast some light. So congratulations.
It moves from mindful eating to heartful eating. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's one thing I just talk about food. I think about food
Yeah.
all day long.
profession.
And there's so many different types of relationships with food, and I'm like every day I kind of like how do I offer it in a way, like explain it in a way that kind of opens their perspective about how they're feeling in their body and what they think about food or how they feel about food. And I mean, it's certainly evolved, and I'm always like thinking about different ways of how to explain food in a way that's almost sacred, and how they can appreciate the moments with the food beyond like mindfulness, beyond food labels, beyond
Calories.
I'll get there.
Yeah. Well, the main thing is that you're connecting to Krishna,
That's right.
and whatever you feel for food, you should just take that to your offerings. Like, you can even do it mentally.
Yeah.
There was one poor Brahmana, it's described in Shastra. He had nothing. He didn't have anything. He was like old school Brahmana. He just had like his couple of like loincloths sitting on the banks of the Ganga. That's it. And he went to a talk held by devotees, and the devotees explained you can offer Krishna whatever you want in your mind. And so he would sit down. It's described in Nectar of Devotion. Rupa Goswami describes it. He would offer like elaborate feasts. It's the most over-the-top prasad you can imagine, because he couldn't make any of it. But he was like very carefully like creating it in his mind for Krishna and offering it. And every day he would do this. It was a sadhana. And one day he made sweet rice for Krishna. And sweet rice is meant to be served cold. You cook it hot, and then Prabhupada explains you actually serve it cold. The flavor really comes out that way. So in his mind, he was so careful. In his mind, he made the sweet rice, and he's like, "Is it cold yet?" In his mind, he puts his finger in the sweet rice, and he burned his finger, and his meditation broke. And he's like, "What happened?" And it's described that in Vaikuntha, in the spiritual world, Narayan is lying there with Lakshmi, and he starts laughing. And she says, "My lord, why are you laughing?" And so he explains, "I have this devotee who's been offering these things," and he just burned his finger, offering mentally this sweet rice. His meditation was so perfect that his material body was affected by it, and he went back to God after that life. His bhakti was complete, and he did it by offering very carefully every day, because he had nothing to offer externally. Doesn't mean if you have something to offer externally, you should just do it in your head. That would be kind of shortcutting, but. You can if you have a simple thing, but you're like, but I really like this one thing and I want Krishna to eat that, offer in your mind on the side. It's totally wonderful. I do it all the time. I'm like, this could really go for like that one thing that I can never get in this part of the world, but I had one time and it was fantastic, so I'm going to mentally offer that to Krishna on the side. And it's like, it's there, it's in the offering.
Right. And what about for like, Tracy works as like a nutritionist, dietitian. Dietitian is just also like talking about food from like a more scientific way with people who either aren't eating enough or are, I don't know how they aren't eating enough or are eating too much.
Yeah, macros and micros and portion sizes, and you can do that. And when you're doing it as a devotee, you're just connecting to all the Krishna. It's like being a farmer. On the external level, you're just farming. But I talked to a devotee farmer. He's like, I'm doing Sankirtan. I'm connecting all these little plant jivas to Krishna. I'm connecting them all in service, because as soon as this little ear of corn is ripe, I'm offering them to Krishna. It's like when you're on book distribution, he said. He had that strong conviction. These are all living entities. I'm connecting every single one of them, one by one, to Krishna. But on the external platform, he's just hoeing and seeding and planting. No one can tell. So all that work is internal. And you get to like meditate on the miracle of how Krishna manifests in the form of vitamin B12 and what have you, and when you speak about food in that way, somebody who hears that will be leveled up, because they're hearing your Krishna consciousness. Just like if you associate with a devotee farmer, you go do some, what is it called when you do like a little farming retreat and you help out?
Oh, farm stay?
Yeah,
or
farm stay,
woofing or
woofing.
no?
If you do some woofing at a devotee farm, you will become like purified just by hearing about his philosophy on farming.
Yeah.
If you go serve in a devotee kitchen, they can't help it. But all that's internal.
Shamya, I was just going to say, I really liked how, when you were speaking about prasad, how you spoke and it said it's, it's a very tangible way of experience the Lord's mercy. So you don't really have to do a lot of explaining, right, to someone. It's just you're making it from the heart and offering it and then distributing it. So it's like a really big act of love. That's just what it's and then it's like so healing to the people that you're distributing it to, and they really have this immense joy out of it too, and you just feel really good after you eat it too. So
Yeah,
Edible mercy. you
edible
said.
mercy.
So,
She'll
we
probably
get
see.
cookies for tomorrow.
Yeah.
Are we?
Okay.
I mean, I am.
Okay, good.
I mean, I am. I'm planning on baking cookies today. Yeah,
Okay.
bake cookies.
Yeah.
Totally.
Bake them.
Jai.
Bake them up.
So we're gonna go do some Sankirtan Harinam, chant in public, and we're gonna distribute some prasad cookies. And we'll see how many demigods show up. Jai.
Yeah.
All right.
Very
Srila
well.
Prabhupada ki jai.
Jai.
Srila Bhagavatam ki jai. Shri Krishna Prasadam ki jai.
Jai.
And now we'll offer our respectful obeisances onto all the Vaishnava devotees of the Lord who are just like desire trees. They can fulfill the desires of everyone and are full of compassion for all the fallen souls. Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda ki jai. Okay. Have a great day.